Well, hello there, YouTube. This is Chris Martin. Just another update. What's going on? Last video I posted, I got a job, data entry, with a company called Accenture, and I'll type them out in the field. But I wanted to discuss something with people in inbound closing and starting out on online businesses. There are a lot of scams out there, and you got to be aware of who you talk to and what type of information that you give out. With this job with data entry, I talked to a lady that had claimed that she was the HR president of recruiting with Accenture, and she was on Hangouts app, and which is a social media app that you can download on your phone and chat and video. Well, I met this person through another app on Instagram as an inbound closer, and they posted on my profile, hey, if you're interested in making $35 an hour, you can do entry level, like full time, Monday through Friday, work from home. It sounded great to me, so I did it. He said, add this email to WhatsApp or Hangouts and hit the code 04 and tell them that Mike Mueller sent you. So I did, and I talked to Mrs. Shoop, Shoop. Her first name is Ellie, I think it is, or Ellen, Ellyn. It's Ellen Shoop. And she did about an hour to an hour and a half interview with me, asking me questions in the chat. It wasn't video face-to-face interview. Within that hour of her explaining the company to me, she would ask random questions about me, what my address is, so I gave it to her. What my full birth name is, I gave it to her. And she wanted to know my birth date, I gave it to her. And she wanted to know my email and phone number, so I gave it to her. And then she said after the interview, we'll go ahead and check with headquarters, and I got to send the chat to them, forward it to them, and then they got to decide on how you did, with the questions that we ask you. They ask questions like, can you work under pressure good? What makes you think you're viable for this company? Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Just questions like that. And there's about maybe 50 different questions that she went through. And she took a long time to respond to a lot of them. But anyway, after about an hour and a half or so, we got done with the interview, and then she said, okay, log on tomorrow, and no later than 8 a.m. in the morning. So, Thursday rolled around, 8 o'clock in the morning, I logged on. And we spent about probably 3 to 4 hours, because she finally said, hey, we want to start paying you for your computer, your printer, and your scanner. So I said, okay, what do I have to do? You need my bank account and routing number so you can deposit, the funds there. And then she said, yeah, we can use your bank information. You'll go to our vendors online, purchase online, give us the electronic receipts, and we'll know what you bought. And, this computer with this specs, this brand, this name, make sure they have the programs, this, and that. About like 6 different programs on them to run the business. And then this type of printer with these dimensions, and make sure it's capable of this and that and that and that and that. And she gave me a whole list and what vendor to go to look for it. And then she gave me the dimensions and details on the scanner. And so after she explained all that and what type of programs I'll be learning, she said, all the programs and equipment are paid by the company. Is that understood? And I typed in, absolutely, sure. And she said, okay, now it's time to get you the money to fund it. This is the tricky part. She actually had the audacity to ask me not only for my routing number, my account number, which I didn't even give her that, because by the time she asked for both of those, right after, she didn't even waste a second, she said, I need a photo of your mobile app to your bank. So I took a screenshot of just, the app outside of it before you open it up to use it. And she said, okay, that verifies that it's an actual bank app. And that's what we wanted to know. And she said, now what I need is your username and your password to your bank account so we can deposit through the app the money. And I said, absolutely not. I'm a retired Army veteran, or not retired, but disabled Army veteran on disability SSI actually. So I'm on a fixed income. I don't make that much a month. And so this job seemed like a really good dream job to have, especially comparable to what I make. And so I was really excited about this until this red flag went off in my head when she asked for my username and password to my bank account. But I kept it to myself. I didn't give it to her, but I just kept quiet for a minute or two. And she kept prodding and prodding for it. And I finally said, not even Social Security knows my username and password to my bank account. What makes you think I'm going to give it to you? Plus, my bank doesn't even know my password or username. Why would I, they both just used, Social Security just used a account number and a routing number only to deposit money into my account. They didn't need my username and password to log in, and they would never ask for it. In addition to that, my bank would never ask for that information either. In fact, they emailed me when I first opened up the account and told me never to give that information to anybody, and no one, as far as an employee with the bank, would ever ask for that information. And that's what I typed to her. And so I told her, no, I'm not going to give it to you. And she said I didn't have enough trust for the company, even though the company was willing to, front the funding for my tools and supplies that I needed to work. Well, this big red flag, went off in my head at this point. And I said, okay, I'll roll with it. So I typed in there in the chat, is there any other result that we can, get to, or another route of how you could pay me, like through PayPal or Google Pay or Messenger, Facebook Pay? And she said, no, our finance department needs your bank account login number. The only other thing I could think of she typed to me was that I email you a PDF of the printed check, and then you print it on your printer at home, sign the back of it, because I'll mail you the front and the back of the check, and then you electronically, using your mobile app on your phone, go ahead and deposit remotely by electronic deposit. So my bank app had the capabilities to do that, so I said okay, and I agreed. So she sent me the PDF of the checks, and I want to show you right now the check that was sent. On there, it has my name, and it has the amount. And the signature of the check. And it's also by Chase, as you can see right there. Now, the title of the check is going to be Alps Property Management, and that's their address. And it even had the signature, which is the daughter of the owner of the company, when we called Alps. And here's what the back of the check looked like, pretty much. You just sign and date, like a regular backing of the check. I printed this out. And pretty much that was it. So Alps Property Management and not Accenture on the check. Interesting. So I called up my mom and dad and said, I don't have a printer. Can you print this out for me so I can electronically sign it and add it to my mobile account, through remote electronic deposit? My dad said, sure, go ahead and shoot me the email. So I shot him the email. He lives about 7 miles away from my house. And when he got it, he opened it up and he noticed the same thing too, that the company was from Alps Property Management, not Accenture. Because I told him about Accenture the day before when I found out, hey, I got a job. I was excited, so I called them up and told them a little bit about it. And so he knew about it already, and he knew the company name, and he looked them up online, and he goes, well, when I looked them up online, they just had a lot of hoopla on the website. They didn't really say what they did. They just said they're against racism, they better the world with cleaner admissions, this and that and that and that and that. But they didn't say what they were for. Well, there's a really small section in there that says that they're into investment funding. So he finally saw that and said, okay, well, but they're a global company apparently, so they have employees all over the world from what the website claims and from what the lady told me during the interview. And so they decided to look up on Google Maps the address of the property management Alps. And they saw a tiny little shack in the middle of kind of like a strip mall. It was a very tiny building, looked like a mom and pop shop, nothing really big. And so they dialed the contact phone number on the address from Google, and they called in the check serial number here. And they said, this is from you guys. It's associated with Chase Bank, and here's the serial number of the check. And have you ever heard of a company called Accenture? And they said, no, we don't associate it with them. We don't even know who they are. We don't acknowledge them in any way. This is news to us. So they said, well, basically they're sending my son $2,500 to put in his account from your company, and you're not aware of them? And they said, no, we're not. So he shot the photo of the signature on the check and the serial number, and they looked up the serial number and they said, yep, it's a legitimate account. It's our active account with Chase Bank, and the signature on it is legitimate. It is, who it says it is from our company. How they got this information, they didn't know, but it was the daughter of the owner of the property management. So she wasn't in until Monday morning, and it's Friday this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. But she won't be in until next week on Monday, because my parents wanted to talk to her and say, is this your signature? And, this company's doing this. You're the one that signed the check. Do you remember signing it for this particular person, Christopher Andrew Martin? And they couldn't talk to her until Monday, so they're going to call back and talk to her later. But we took the copy of the check, both the front and the back of it, down to Chase Bank, and they ran the serial number because it's affiliated with Chase Bank, and they said it's a fraud account, it doesn't exist, the check is no good, it won't clear your bank if you try to deposit it. So it's interesting that the property management says it's an active account on their account, but Chase Bank doesn't still recognize the account number. So, that's still a little bit confusing to me. So probably both companies are shady. I don't know. But anyway, this is a really bad experience. So I typed back to her and I said, look, I will not electronically upload this check. It's a fraud check, and I told her what had happened, what my parents did, that we talked to the company, the property management that's endorsed on the check, and they haven't heard of Accenture. Why? And why are you cutting checks from a company that doesn't even know you and handing it to me? And she didn't answer that back. And she said, why did you give this information to other people? Because our company policy states that it's strict privacy for the company, just between you and the bank, and nobody needs to know the information that we send you electronically, because it's conflict of interest, and it's also breaching privacy laws with our practices. And she tried to scorn me over this. And I said, thank God I didn't give you my password, my login information to my bank. Who knows what you would have done with that. And after sending me a fraudulent check, and I listed that they don't recognize you at the property management, number one. Number two, we took the check to Chase Bank. They said it doesn't exist. It's a fraudulent account. And number three, you try to get my username and password to my bank account. So what is there not left over that I can trust you? And she stayed quiet. And finally, about 45 minutes later, I typed back, what, you have nothing to say? Question mark. And she finally typed back again, it's a good check. It's legitimate. Please just deposit it. This and that. She's so anxious for me to upload it to my app. So I posted on Facebook in the Inbound Closer group, or IBC group, with Facebook. And I shot the photos up there on my profile and explained on a long post like what I'm explaining in this video, to alert other people to know that there are companies out there that are like this. And I don't know if you can incur criminal charges federally for trying to add a fraudulent check to your account, but thank God I didn't. I called my particular bank and said, what would have happened if I did this? And they said, well, we probably would have processed the payment, but the thing of it is that if you would have spent the money, the $2,500 online, and then we all of a sudden figure out that this check is not for reallies, then we cancel the deposit, and you owe us $2,500 for what you spent online. So I could have been in massive debt at the worst case scenario with my bank. They said they probably wouldn't have pressed criminal charges, but I'd have to pay back the $2,500 if they, caught on to the check not being valid. So, with all this said, I also went on Instagram and posted everything that happened and all the social media sites that I'm with. And I thought I'd update YouTube about this. I'm bummed out because I lost out on a good opportunity that I thought was real, but I learned a big lesson about fraud. My parents blamed me a little bit for being too naive and for kind of falling for it and giving them the information that I did give. They said they could do a lot of damage with my address and social security number and full name and birth date. But I have LifeLock, so I'm not too worried about it. So I blocked her on Hangouts, but I told her that I was going to exploit her on social media and warn other people about Accenture.com and the company Accenture. So I'll type the company name in the notes, and just so that you're aware of what to look out for. And so here I am, back at square one, looking for employment online. I'm not giving up. This is a lesson learned. I figure that I try to be a person that is truthful and honest as I can be, and with absolute intent for integrity in my character. So I kind of am agreeing with my parents, not so much of being naive, but because I try to pride myself on honesty and integrity. I usually give people the benefit of a doubt until they prove themselves wrong and figure that they are pretty much honest and they have integrity themselves. But apparently not. You don't know who you're going to run into online. So this is a warning to other people that are in the inbound closing and people that are watching that are interested in starting up employment online, whether it be inbound closer or coming up with your own company or whatever. Checks and electronic deposits are constantly exchanged between the person in the company or the customer as a company. And so you have to be weary of signs like this to see if a check is real or if a payment is authentic going into your account, just to avoid some trouble. So thank you for watching, and you guys have a good day. All right, bye.